Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to talk about Richard Torrez' gritty win over Guido Vianello. I want to start off by congratulating Mr. Richard Torrez Jr. for his first main event fight and for coming up victorious. You know, it was quite messy in the first 3 or 4 rounds, but the action picked up in the second half of the fight. What's funny is that both of their game plans was laid out for both teams to see in the open in the very first round. It was very obvious what both men were trying to do. Torrez will try to blitz Vianello, get inside and work, use feints and jabs and sometimes lead with the left hand, get inside and rip up in there. Vianello's plan was to catch Torrez on the way in with a counter right or a counter uppercut and then tie up so Torrez can't rip him inside. It was just a matter of, who's going to execute better. It made for an ugly first half, one where Vianello even got a point taken away for excessive holding. That ref, Thomas Taylor, that guy was playing no games, man. He took away the point in the second round, and honestly, I applaud him for that. This is a boxing fight, right? Not no wrestling match. Some people might think he deducted the point a little too early, but I think he knew that if he didn't do it early, the fight would have been ugly and not nearly as entertaining as it turned out to be. In fact, I think it would have been a snooze fest where barely any action would ensue. But I digress. The rounds became a lot more competitive in the second half when Vianello made the adjustment and started standing his ground and at times even pushing Torrez back. I thought Vianello found more success when he stepped to Torrez instead of just waiting to catch him on his way in. Torrez is not nearly as good at quote-unquote boxing, so he actually got touched up when he wasn't on the front foot. When Vianello let his hands go, he saw good results. He really did. I thought he could have done better in this fight. He often lunged at Torrez when throwing his right hand instead of just, keeping his range and shooting from a safe distance. He should have been busier as well instead of looking for the perfect shot every time, and he should have been more aggressive. But, perhaps Torrez was doing things in there that I didn't see that was forcing Vianello to make those mistakes. Maybe all the clinching and wrestling and the fast pace and the constant pressure Torrez was applying drained Vianello early, and he tried to be more economical with his output to preserve his energy. I don't know. Torrez did well. If I were to give him a grade on his performance, I would give it a B-. The things that I liked from what I saw was his heart. Honestly, same with Vianello. To be perfectly honest, they both showed a lot of guts in there. They both showed that they wanted it. Late in the fight, both of them were exhausted, right? Vianello knew he was losing, but he refused to lay down and accept the L. So he came out the final round swinging. Richard Torrez, in my opinion, visibly slowed down as early as the 5th round. The energy just wasn't the same. The output wasn't the same, but his style requires a high work rate from him. And he still urged himself to execute, right? And even in the late rounds, when he was totally gassed, whenever there was an opportunity to finish the fight, he went for it. He emptied the tank each and every time, even though he knew he was on his way to a decision victory. More attributes I like from Torrez was his high octane motor, his persistence, his tenacity, and his ferocity and his determination. I like his character, guys. His fighting spirit is in full display every time he fights. He got mad heart. He's typically, the smaller man in most of his fights, so he fights with a chip on his shoulder, and there is no quit in that boy. He believes he will get the job done one way or another, and he won't stop until he does so you gotta respect that, right? I also like how he won't stop throwing. If you are tied up but he got a free hand, he is gonna whack you and work any way he can. You really cannot relax when facing this guy. He doesn't give you any moments of rest. And another thing that I like was, of course, his right hook. He could not miss with that thing. Now, if I were to offer, any sort of constructive criticism, it would be to be a little bit more versatile, vary it up a little bit. I noticed that a go-to move of his was to feint twice, then explode with a left while looking down, or it would be a feint, jab, then explode inside with a left while looking down. You know, it was one or the other with slight variances, but still the same idea and rhythm. And I know the elite fighters are very quickly going to pick up on that, you know, pick up on his timing, and he's gonna get caught with something devastating. Vianello even picked up on it. He just couldn't land anything, you know, but he was trying to land the uppercut, and if he had connected, man, it could have been bad. So I think he should really, you know, be a little less repetitive. Another thing I noticed was that he's a little slow to defend on the exit or when he gets turned by his opponent. When Vianello went after him, I saw him pull back, but his face was still often exposed. Vianello just couldn't land, but the opening was there, and Vianello even landed a good right hand after turning Torrez one time. The last thing is the fact that Richard Torrez prided himself on his conditioning, but I thought he gassed way too early in this fight. I mentioned earlier, but I swear Torrez clearly slowed down by the 5th round, and he started breathing heavy, and he started breathing from his mouth, and the output and activity just dropped, you know. So I think he needs to either improve his stamina or his stamina management. But on the bright side, he did land an incredible overhand left in the 8th round that I think would have floored most other heavyweights. Vianello looked gone after that. I don't know how he stayed up, you know. But that's all I really gotta say. Overall, it was a fun fight. Torrez is a fun watch, man. Very, very entertaining. But I can't shake the feeling. I just can't shake this feeling that he is due for a bad knockout loss in the future. I personally hope it doesn't happen because I do like him. He's a cool dude who's not afraid to be himself, right? But who do you want him to fight next? As for Vianello, why not, you know, fight Joe Joyce, who also lost yesterday, or, you know, Frank Sanchez coming off a loss as well, or honestly even Jared Anderson. He will serve as the litmus test between the two young American heavyweights. But other than that, I got nothing. I want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I hope you have a lovely day.